People of Earth, I need your help to build a global civilian communication business that is self-sustaining and perpetually exist at. We have the plan and know how to make IT work, but we need someone who can write something to catch people's interest. We will need people who will help build the AI program. We will also need help from lawyers. Most important, we need anyone who will help to create a governance system that will let every person be heard and have power and control to unite and free ourselves. We are horrible writers, please excuse how IT sounds. For IT, leave the reader to think a bit about what they just heard. If you want to be a part of freeing the people's data and giving power to the people and profits to those that work IT, please get involved. I am self-taught and conditioned to find a way to create the fundamental idea of a global civilianhood that will gather data to learn how to act as the frontal lobe to the up-and-coming super-intelligence. Ran by SI, for the peoples of Earth, by the peoples of Earth, to secure the people of Earth. I'm not trying to sell you anything, I am really hoping you're reasonable persons who will try to see past the poor translation and see the idea presented, because if you aren't blown away by my offer here, it will be because I jump around so much. For weeks now I've been writing this and rewriting, because when I listen to it on audio I can clearly tell it's missing some structure, but I can't find what it is. I hope you are not too busy of a person to try and understand this, because if you could work with me to learn what I'm saying, it will prove that this whole idea could work very well, since this whole thing is built off of people working together to build something of worth and security. I have been researching for many years in the areas of law, business, politics, government and religion, and more recently into AI and so much more, which you will probably see in my writing. I don't know how to present this, but here goes. I ask you, if you could turn your business into a global power, giving it a perpetually self-sustaining existence for the security of humanity, would you do it? If the world is facing a global collapse and a person came to you who did not speak your language, would you try to understand it? Could you see yourself being a person who plays part in the formation of a global shift, giving power to the people for the first time since the creations of governments? Would you be able to take the risk involved in starting something that would really change the world for the good? All you would have to do is work with a handful of noble people. You may have to find and structure a massive business plan. The plan would have to cover everything needed to give instruction on how the business will be governed when it comes to everything, so that the business could be put under the control of trusts forever. So everything, including ways it can grow and solve unthought of problems. It is almost as simple as that. It could lock in your present income for the rest of your life and free you from responsibility to your business. You would become a legend. Leave a legacy that changes the world and will live long past your lifetime. Global communication platform on a specific group of causes like cyber identity, cyber health, cyber education, cyber security and cyber organization that was outside any government jurisdictions, and by right overseers of the United Nations as the people of the world. As a self-declared global union of civilians united of Earth is the way to change the world. This is possible due to a treaty the United Nations have made with most countries that say no one can be forced to stay under the control of a government. Of course, things like evading criminal punishment or signing or accepting a responsibility like a birth certificate need to be settled before one can freely leave. By proclaiming a global civilian cyber world of the people as a global civilian-run corporate communication oversight business community, and could use its proclaimed powers to start a self-governing virtual world using AI for everything governed. Then what we could do is patent the intellectual property, but the only way to make that work is to invent and patent some kind of base station that transfers data to the people. To be able to hold standing on such a business, we need to have a complete chain of title from creator to beneficiary, including chain of title for all the people involved, and must start from the beginning of the world to the present. and I have a book that will be able to help with the proper titles. This will be formed under international commercial law in the common law form. The book is a loose leaf and it is really a sign that this was my mission. This can still get moving now, but unless we have full capabilities to be self-sustained inside ourselves, we will take the chance of being controlled by whoever internet is used to transfer our data. And we might have to search for the best place to set such a station up because of land, but I think with some smart people we could put it in the sky. I don't worry about what we have to work with now because I am able to find ways around anything, and this plan would be guaranteed to blow up with and bring us all the people we need and all the funding. If some nobleman would step forward with this plan, structured and secured, then entrusted to the people as indestructible business form that could give power and control to the masses. If your business were to reform its business plan in the way I discovered as an international self-proclaiming power. We do not want to be under any other jurisdiction. You build a structured plan for how everything will be governed. This will be very time-consuming, and we will probably do best to get advice from many people while building it. If we set up a governance for the business plan for a global company whose mission is to provide knowledge, participation, oversight and income to the masses. If after the business plan for how everything should run is put in place at the start of the new global business, you then donate the structured business to the people in trust as an irrevocable beneficiary. Splitting the ownership / title responsibilities in one trust, financial affairs in the second trust, and governance and discipline for the management in the third trust. By splitting responsibility among these three areas and by making it the responsibility of every member to provide checks and balances on all areas of the business. This means that everything must be open source for inspection. That would allow for any one person to question any practice at any time, except if it will hinder any disciplinary actions of the individual trying to challenge for obvious reasons. By using AI systems to manage all the areas will help in the business by being able to offer a one-of-a-kind service that pays for using the platform, gives each person who uses the platform will get to own a piece of the business, getting share equals shares of the profits at the end of the year. They will be able to get a global cyber identity. The business could start by simply make a place people can go to vote on topics of local and global importance or other things. The business will only accept humans to join, no businesses, governments, etc. They will be the ones who will pay the people for their data and can pay to have specific votes taken in areas. If we used some kind of identity identification like fingerprint or eye scans, each person will own an account, which is how they get paid, and the business will only deal in gold using a gold money account. It would prevent the chance of AI learning bad habits from man while it learns what a bad race of people are like. It would also learn how we humans work together to overcome bad programming, and it would learn what we did to fix it. For we are getting to the point where man will be putting his trust in these machines to create a utopian life, and unless everyone puts the checks and balances in every area of this technology, someone will keep control. This is just my opinion, but I believe 6 billion people should all police just one system rather than just one system policing the world. I have found that man is a product of his environment. The only way people can have free will is to be given the tools necessary to control their environment. That would only be possible if every person owned and knew how to understand the results and how to use their data to potentially make what they choose of their lives. I have tested a theory on self-conditioning and it works. I have tested on myself controlling every bit of information I exposed myself to for 5 years, giving myself a new mind without memory of the old. I took in mass amounts of information from my chosen fields, not knowing anything about what they really stood for. Hundreds of hours went by that it was just noise, but it slowly turned into words I understood. Since I started with law, I had to relearn what the true meanings of words were. It was because I found myself trying to help this older lady get some help from the police because she had some guy trying to break in her house, but because the guy is a paid informant junkie, the police refused to do anything. After 3 calls to 911 and a rock through my windshield, the police wanted to blow it off. For 3 years I went to town on the law. Trying to get people to listen to you when you have a disability with speaking is not easy. It has always taken me having to go to the courts to get anyone to listen. Knowing this, I used it to my advantage by writing everything to people. I wrote to the chief of police, the mayor, the police board, 2 different prosecutors. Who would have thought they all tried to ignore me because I understand how the laws work in practice. For nothing is illegal unless someone brings charges against the other person. Then that doesn't even matter if you're fluent on the court or procedure and tactics. You can win because the judge is just a referee. It comes down to the 2 parties and their skills in finding the best case law and practices. But again, who have thought that if people just ignore you can't prove you ever tried to report anything? After being spit on by a bailiff and kicked out of the courtroom by the judge for beating a bogus ticket and asking if the judge had been talking with the chief of police because they had been wasting my time in courts as retaliation, I had told the district attorney not to drop the ticket because I was able to prove 10 plagiarized statements the trooper made on a simple seatbelt ticket. I wanted the prosecutor to offer the trooper who gave me the ticket an offer that I wouldn't file charges as he would give the local cop's name of who told him to watch for me and make up a reason to stop me, only using their game. But the prosecutor told me he's not only the prosecutor but also the city attorney and had to protect the police. After sending him an email asking if that means he was going to claim he could not bring charges against an officer who was just a contractor for the city, I got an email back that crashed my laptop. I can say that sticking up for another person who don't have the knowledge or ability to protect themselves is an amazing feeling. What's even better is knowing the rules better than the system itself, because I've found that if the authorities are talking to you, they are finding something they can get on you or what they can do to ignore your case. Since I have been 15, I have said I was going to fix this country. I didn't know how, I just knew that Bush's election was fake, and then I found that our own country had to fly planes into the Twin Towers. But what gets me mad enough to want to change things is the fact that they get people to believe lies and the people believe it. I don't know why they believe. Wait, yes, I do know they have their environment controlled. So I thought if I could be the one in control of the world just for a minimum, I could then make it truly equal, because I don't think I know what anyone wants but myself, and if that's all I know, that's all anyone else could know. So to truly work, rules would be put in place to govern that said each person is responsible or the whole by setting some kind of program. Each person's assistant can have the will explain to the person what they need to check when monitoring their own data and some other area of the platform, so that the whole self-governance thing will work. Then less programs will need to be watched to protect the main system from destruction by those who will want to take it out. That's why I have discovered these keys to building such a business indestructible plan. A mix of natural law, probate law, commercial law, religious law, health law, computing law and legacy. Along with my personal experiences in life and business affairs, I came up with this world that is everything this one is not. This platform shouldn't sell anything, and for sure no ads. It will be like a Facebook and YouTube governance domain. But instead of talking about what you ate for supper, you show someone how to make supper. It will be legally and the world where everyone shares what the whole has built, so a coder who makes a code for the system not only could benefit by selling to the platform based on some rules we set, and they also get share at the end of the year. I will offer identity and security to the point we can do in protecting property or persons. We won't be violent and hopefully grow inside the platform, a world where you always have a place to get help or education, participate in community, get paid to share your data, start a world language, and only to protect us from it being used against us. We will become the police state with total surveillance of everything we can. I say that because we can get people to see it's better if they have control over what happens to their data rather than someone else forcing it upon them and they keep the data. Every person could have a virtual assistant that would learn everything about you, virtual teachers and everything else. And this is the most important thing we will want in the plan, is the start of a kind of laws, but in the positive things people can do and how to do them properly or respectfully. Only learning information that was at least factual information every person should know apparently. I would listen for hours to case law, statutes and history. I would take 30 minimum breaks and listen to some music that I had pre-chosen based on the words, what meaning they brought me, and that would remind me why I was putting myself through that. I would listen to motivational talk for an hour after I woke up and an hour before going to sleep. I lived out in the woods, going into town once a month for some food and occasionally to have some human interaction for 5 years, all because I feel this need to build something bigger than myself. When I was about 16 years old, I had this thought come through my head that was you could cure any kind of mental health problems like drug addicts, thieves and people raised in bad homes by controlling their entire environment, every word and thing seen. Every interaction would have to be controlled just right so that the person being rehabilitated is mostly alone but productive in a way that is useful when put back into population. Simple fending for oneself in a place where it's easier to just live one's life without influence of the modern world. Things like going to the store for supper, cooking it, setting a time to go to sleep, fixing everyday things, learning how to manage the basic things, and by keeping your body active and only feeding words in a positive form. After 5 years anyone could reprogram the mind to a new world. Nowadays, since commercials on things like YouTube can be every 5 minutes, it could be easier. We don't understand what breaking focus every 15 minimum or so when really interested in something very quickly conditions the behavior of forgetting about attention every 15 minutes. Before the radio it was only life. You didn't stop what you were doing every 15 minutes to do something else for 2 to 3 minutes, then go back to what you were doing up to 100 times a day. It all comes to the stimulation one gets so quick when attention is forcefully broke, suspense. It's like someone telling you to shut up and you are forced to let it happen over and over, beginning and end over and over in short 30 to 60 minimum intervals. Understanding the true risk of what could happen to a person who tried to overthrow the banks. I have conditioned my life with few they could hurt, and I look at it as honor if I were to be taken in this secret battle, so long as it's not in vain. I feel like I was given the key to build Noah's Ark because a flood of debt is coming now. I must find a few good men / women to try and stop it with an arc across current time into present time. If you've ever tried isolation, you would learn humans need other humans. When doing this I had a spiritual awakening like no other, and I am fully convinced that such an awakening can be reproduced by anyone who were to set their environment. During my isolation I had started writing notes on my walls and ceiling, phrases for all the different arts. I started talking like ever before to myself. I promise I'm not crazy, it was just an awakening, because I almost didn't understand what I was saying, but I was repeating lines I had heard and I started connecting everything together. I remember looking in the mirror and saying to myself, I'm crazy. I have never been good at reading, that's why I listen to most things, but I cannot get myself to believe anything as fact till I see it in writing and it fits in with the logic of a process of life. I have millions of theories on things when it comes to why, but there are only a few get it done things. Those are things that you can do for yourself. I was buying old books from antique stores and garage sales, and that's where I found 2 books I should have never gotten my hands on, not because others don't have the same books but cause of the conditioning of information I had taken in and the mission I have been put here for. I am an overachiever and impulsive workaholic, working hands-on with things. I have always been gifted with understanding things in a very simplistic way. Though I can't write a book to teach others, I can show what I'm thinking by doing it, but in this case all I could do is answer any questions on the processes. I can say what the vision would be, how to lock a perpetual business plan in place. Reason why or what it matters, how long and who all with, what specific need to be chosen word for word I cannot answer. We are as strong as our weakest. If we put the money we spend on wars towards healing the sick and educating the less educated, it would not only build our side bigger, we could be taking bigger leaps forward if we all jumped together. Things like offering some kind of incentive for anyone who can hack the system or finds flaws in the governance would help keep security and data or actual criminal actions. Every human who joins would be one of the people and thus an owner who will have the same rights as every other person. Now I think if it just started simple, like getting everyone to vote on things chosen based off a predetermined structure of necessity, that would along bring income and popularity to the business. If there was a platform that was secure for any group, business or government that wanted real data on things could pay for the use. People could use the platform to start conversations and movements. All the structure for these areas has to be put in the business plans before recording, because it will be out of anyone's control after, and that will be the only way to guarantee such a plan can work at such a scale needed to awake the masses. Because in truth there is still a fictitious debt, and if your business is a registered business in the US, when it collapses, that registration usually means in some way a piece of your business is property of the US, which under international commercial will no longer exist if the collapse happens. I have a book that explains the commercial law, but it's not any book, it's a loose leaf from when this whole scheme started. I can't say fully understand every layer of the wording, but the book is not only copyrighted but it's patented. Copyright protects the writing, but a patent is for a device of some kind, and that is the key to claiming ourselves at first under commercial law is first, because we don't want to use the trade name the government gave to us. After you recorded your name, then you can use that name to take control of the trade name, then you publicly announce the business and its papers. When everything is done, the business will run off the thing that were built into the business plans. The business is out to empower the people. Every person involved benefits. Provides a global income to work towards eliminating money. No more competing against each other. Instead we set global goals, one disease at a time. Not everyone has to be on the same thing, but if anyone does anything on the platform, it will be open for the rest of the public to help. I was thinking of how to best handle the technology invasion, and I think if we worked it into the whole system, making it mandatory that everything be recorded and analyzed through algorithms securing personal data from mass data. I think every kind of information should be voted on to if something should be used, and how, maybe even let each person choose what and who they want to share or sell their data to. I hope you can see how this could massively help empower and unite the average individual. Putting a clause in the plan allowing for the business to protect property if it owners, with a one-way agreement that once it recorded with the business it can never be transferred back out. That is something that we won't want on the front page till we have numbers of people, for the elite will understand quick what I have architecturally designed with their own laws. Here is something I wrote. It probably makes no sense, because when I write something where I try to share an idea, as you may have noticed, I don't form any structured reason to the information I'm sharing, leaving the reader with just a bunch of facts, ideas and personal perceptions, never really leaving much for the reader to understand why and how to feel about the information. And if you are reading this, it may only because the monitoring system's algorithm didn't see this as anything important. But we wouldn't be too smart to think that this message will be not accessible. And every time hereafter will only increase the chance of triggering flags on us. So I will leave it up to you. After reading this, I hope you will feel the sincerity in my mission. Then stop and think about what you are being offered, and that if such a business could be possible, would you accept that I messaged you for a reason beyond logical thinking, but no one else has thought of making this? And if you, being a normal human being, can see past a disability to comprehend reason but believe in the motive. Many people like to think if someone can't write that they must not know what they are talking about, but don't realize that output writing is only one specific part of the brain and a genius could be locked inside. Another thing people don't know is that the brain can't differentiate between someone else's words and one's own. All sound enters through the same specific part of the brain. Let us all believe some we do universally give and accept liege dom to this liege and as liege whose tie. That this present all the people of this world that the first breath here spoke. Conscious of the spiritual values and moral dignity of heritage alike, we want this union founded on the indivisible, universal values of human dignity, freedom of control, equal solidarity and global unity. It is based on the principles of universal global openness, perpetual self-sustainment and human life. It places the individual at the heart of its activities, by establishing the citizenship of the Union and by creating an area of freedom, security and justice. As this end of time comes, a new time begins. Inhabitants of planet Earth, come witness these truths. Wicked crimes take place under secret brotherhoods and evil men who will claim to be the Neotech God men. I hope I can be the light with these words. The more people this planet has, the more control each should have, for more people means more smarts, skills and minds, which means unless prevented every year technology improves, the more easier life should be, unless it's survival of the richest, which in turn would lead to one group making decisions for everyone. Think of Monopoly. In the end, one always wins. Always. I believe that we each play a part and have a responsibility to have the ability to make change when time calls. We have found ourselves in a race for what is moral and what is profitable inside a technology. Let me say, not all people are terrible, and those that are were taught that condition, and so we cannot just turn our backs on the sick. So we will build them an island and supply all their needs in such a condition, and when we discover how to put consciousness in the computer, we will even let them be the first to try on their island. We are different in many ways and in charge of our own actions and what we decide to make and get from this earth. Please let all the peoples of this earth come together, see my vision and feel my words. For this will one day be something we celebrate in Map Story. The biggest take back this planet's people have ever pulled off. This will change the world, open eyes and rise those who have been dead. The strongest force all our gods have entrusted to us is truth of his words. I do not want to control anyone outside myself. That's not my business. I should rather look inside myself, tearing down the old, rising the new. I had to put this plan together to stop the elite using their own system against them. This is the one chance we as humans can come together for the first time by changing the way we see each other. We have technology now that is capable of processing mass data that would make it possible for each person's vote to count and each voice to be heard without a bias to one side or the other. In real time we could all know what is true and what is fake and what matters. Free 24/7 help for any situation could be a click away. Education in its diversity could be shared, global and free. Man could be pursuing his happiness if technology were used to supply the food and the house to live in. The thing is, we already are using this technology in government's uses today to take control of the power, communications, travel, health, education and many other resources, but even though the people are thought to be the government or agreed to their ruler for the people's benefits, so the people fund by paying taxes, the people run everything and pay to then the use that which they paid to start and gave their time to manage. Talk about profitable, it would be a great system if all the prosperous profits could be shared with the very people that make it all happen. We all have something to offer, some more than others, but everyone wants to feel worth and love. We just need to want the same for our neighbor. People of planet Earth, we have all been sold as chattel, with many a country's collapse at the final sound of the trump. Debt will be owed. Countries from all around the world will be no more, and the second coming will be upon us. They will say to us, you simpletons, you do not run this new world as the debtors you so made yourselves. You will only make it run for those who know how to handle affairs, with so signing names to the book of life before his return. Never before has the human been transformed into a commodity and sold for the corporation's debt. Our labors. Corporations cannot be held accountable. Sad to say, we didn't avoid what was so clear. I bring the word. These words come out of myself but comes from many. They have united in this one message. You are presented with these words that call out to help. Will you see my messenger's words and feel my message giving you, knowing this is the return? Your biggest test for you will be this: do you know my Father, or have you only knowledge of the book? Love and peace brings such a task. I should like to help everyone, if possible, every individual human, man or woman, young and old, rich and the poor. I should like to put purpose in the new life's opportunity for people. This must be in place before my time comes, in a place of the utmost highest power, in a place of honor. This place is respected by all because it comes from all. We all want to help one another, so we should hope. It is human beings' nature to be like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not to use profit for self-glorification over our neighbors. We would not want to hate and despise one another or steal and hurt each other. In this world we know there's room for everyone on this earth. It is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life is one we must choose. Choose for it to be freed and choose for us to be the ones to free it. It feels we have lost the way, like profit is worth more than the earth we live on. Greed has poisoned us, technology has taken our souls, and man has turned from his Father, barricaded the world with their fears and hate, and put us into misery and bloodshed for the elite's greed. Putting themselves in a false place of glory as heroes they were never. We have developed speed but not unity. We have been entrusted to corporations who have sold us out. Man has created machinery that will replace the humans. Machinery that gives abundance has made abundance possible to be controlled by the few and still leave us without. Evil men have rinsed in self-proclaiming places over others, but for how much harm it has caused, it will not be in vain, for we will learn from it. The elite control the masses using the banks, leaving the people in debt and without the basics in life. Our knowledge has made us cynical and untrustworthy, all in the name of profit. Our cleverness to make good using others is truly hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little.